The only problem with Santino and Andy is this podcast. Well, hello and welcome back to your favorite movie podcast. I am half of the show. I'm Andy Matsky, and I'm joined as always by Santino Vitale. We are two Ohio-based filmmakers, and we just love talking about movies almost as much as we love making them. Santino, is there something at the start of the show you would like to advertise to the world, or no? Fun putting you on the spot.
Um, Technically no, because I don't think they'd know how to find it. It was a very targeted ad that I sent out to a
I
very
can
specific
put
group of
links
people.
in descriptions, can't I?
You can, but the people that I wanted to advertise to were the people that have a lot of money that's usually ill and gotten in its gain.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
want to take money from the good people who listen to this podcast, at least not at this juncture.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll leave this whole thing in because I love the vague way you're saying that.
There's a specter of fundraising hanging over our heads that the audience is unaware of for now.
Yeah. There's funny allusions to things that we've made throughout the course of the show that I think it's really funny. You can like put dots together, but they don't all add up. It's like I was thinking about something you said last week on the show as I was setting up, and I'm like, oh, people at home have no clue what are either thinking we're completely joking and completely full of it.
Oh, we're never joking. We're never everything we say on this podcast is so serious.
Yes, I hope you understand that we take what we do very seriously, and what we do is this podcast.
This is it.
Live. This is our live.
We don't do anything. We're not even in separate rooms. We actually have one building where we've built, it's like an airplane hangar, and we've built two completely different sets, and we're just right next to each other. Like if I look over here, I'm like, hey, I can see you.
Right there. I might have not looked the right way. I think I should.
I don't know. No, it's clear that there's nothing there. It would have to be over there. We're flipping images around. There's a lot of
work in post. Have you ever heard of The Volume? It's a little something like that.
I'm not even a real person.
Santino Vitale.
Jim puppet.
Really? I was gonna go AI, but that's what you think in today's day and age. No, there's other ways to do film special effects. One of them is puppetry, and Santino this whole time has been a puppet.
Hey, you know how Big Bird's like there's a hand up in his head? That's why this arm never moves right. It's always like out here, because this is the one arm that's the real hand, and then the other hand's right here. So
yeah, he's all
revealing all tonight.
Yeah, tonight all will be revealed. I am so excited to talk about this movie this week. This week we are talking about the Coen brothers film, The Ladykillers. Quite possibly their most underrated film. Question mark?
Yeah.
Not clickbait. What? A film I was not familiar with at all before you recommended it. And what I've been shocked to find out is like how little acclaim this movie has, how little like notoriety this film has, considering how fun I think it is. So do you want to give the folks at home a synopsis of this week's film?
Sure. So, this for the folks at home, this is an adaptation. It's the original, I believe, was done in the 60s with Herbert Lom and a few other people. It was a British comedy. I don't know. I'm a little behind on my research. You can correct me if you know. Was that also based on a play, I feel like, or was it just an original work for the cinema?
Both these films are based on something. In the title of this film, it says based on yada, yada, yada. And I want to say it's a novel.
Oh, novel. Okay. See, I wasn't sure about the origin. I just know that this is their remake. It's the Americanized remake of the English film from the 60s. That itself may very well be based on something else. While Andy pulls that up, the synopsis is effectively of this film in particular is that you've got this nice old lady, little old black lady who's living in Mississippi. She lives at home by herself. Her husband has since passed on, Othar, her husband, of whom she has a portrait above the fireplace. And that's kind of important because his portrait is as much a character in this movie as anything else is. The portrait changes throughout the movie, which is fun. There are no fantasy elements really in this movie. It's just a fun movie. And so Marva Munson lives in this place, and she's always complaining to the police about, minor trifles in the neighborhood, hoodlums and their music that's too loud, et cetera, et cetera. And then one day, Tom Hanks's character, Goldthwait Higginson Dorr, PhD, shows up and he inquires about a room to let in her house. And he's interested in particular in the cellar of her house, which has earthen walls. And he tells her that he's a musician who does Renaissance music, and he has all these weird characters kind of join him. There's five of them in total. One's like this kind of gangster guy played by Marlon Wayans. Another is this kind of
gangster, to be clear, because this is a Coen Brothers film, as in like from the hood.
Yeah,
where's a gold chain?
like a G,
like a gangsta with an A at the end.
Exactly.
Not gangster with a fedora.
Precisely.
Film noir. Just to be clear, because I think this movie, you kind of need to keep our archetypes clear.
Right.
For folks at home.
So they've got him, they've got Tom Hanks, who's this very I don't know exactly what his character is. He's like this southern
really
gentleman,
hard,
very strange, out of time for sure. Not like, I think the movie's supposed to take place in the late 90s, and Tom Hanks is just completely out of his element. And
Tom Hanks looks like he's, and this is a bit anachronistic, but it looks like he's stepped out of True Grit. But
kinda, yeah.
Even though this film comes before that in the Coens,
filmography,
this is it. Like, he is this truly out of time character who the movie never gives any explanation for that, except maybe an interesting upbringing that it alludes to. He's just a very, very, very eccentric guy.
The professor. So you have the professor, you have Marlon Wayans, who's the gangster. He's the inside man. Because all these people that he's assembled, they've been assembled together not to play music in her basement. They really can't play music. They're all going to tunnel through the earthen walls of her basement into the Bandit Queen, which is a gambling establishment that in Mississippi they're not allowed to be on land. They have to float. So it's a boat. It's a casino on a boat. And so they're gonna burrow into the counting room that's underground that is on land, and they're gonna steal millions from it. So that's the basic plot. And there's J.K. Simmons plays Garth Pancake, who is kind of an all-arounder. He's kind of a bit of an engineer, demolitions expert. Then there's the general, who's this weird Asian guy with a Hitler mustache who's always smoking.
Ooh, fun fact, that's the same guy who played the general in Arrival.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's the same guy.
It is the same dude.
Decades apart, playing general characters.
Another general, yeah. I didn't even put that together. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So there's him, and then finally there's Lump Hudson, who's this big brute. He's just their muscle. He's just going to be the one doing most of the digging.
Look, this movie has some of the most incredible character names I think I've ever heard. That ones that made me go, no way, that's what they're named. That's awesome. Can you give Tom Hanks' character's full name again, slowly?
Goldthwait Higginson Dorr, PhD.
Yeah.
Which Marva Munson mistakes PhD for Fudd, like Elmer Fudd. He's like, no.
That's so good. Then Marlon Wayans plays Gawain McSam, which is such a good name. And then Garth Pancake is incredible. And then Garth Pancake is with a woman whose name in the movie, and it's all that it gives us, is Mountain Girl.
Mountain Girl, yep.
Which is, and sometimes
6-year-old with pigtails.
Yeah, is sometimes solely referred to as Mountain. Those are some of the best character names.
And Mr. Gudge.
Yeah, Mr. Gudge. Some of the
played
best
by Stephen Root.
And then there's a character who's, I think, merely alluded to, which is Wee Mac.
Yeah, nobody's ever seen him, but he's playing that hippity hop music, and you got to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
And then the sheriff. Wallet. The sheriff is played by George Wallace, the comedian George Wallace.
Yeah, so. This movie's really This movie's really something. And just that is your main cast is who you get. And Garth Hudson's also a great name.
Mm.
I think on the list, or not Garth Hud. Yeah. No.
Lump Hudson.
Lump Hudson.
Garth Pancake, Lump Hudson.
Garth Pancake. Yeah. Lump Hudson is also a great name, but I think in comparison to a name like Garth Pancake, which the movie just matter of factly tells you and then kind of moves on.
Mr. Pancake.
It's
Yeah. So they all have their various roles, and the main synopsis of the movie is, spoiler, they do in fact rob the casino, but then the old lady catches them, and then they're like, well, crap, now we got to kill this old lady. And then stuff happens. And through stupidity and almost Rube Goldberg-esque methods, each one of them dies one by one until eventually they're all dead, and it's just this old lady and some money. So that's basically the synopsis of the movie. So you can take the lead from here. Did you watch it by yourself or did you watch it with your dad?
I watched it by myself. I watched it by myself last night, and I really didn't know what I
watched it last night.
Good. I really didn't know what I was in for. I knew I was in for Coen's, but even knowing I knew I was in for Coen's comedy. But even that is such a wide range that I really was like, I don't know what I'm in for. And then I watched it. I started, and probably for a good 20 minutes, I still didn't quite know what I was like in. And that wasn't bad, but I think this movie is set, I mean, like you said, supposedly like in the 90s, but it's so vaguely the 90s,
right?
Because the main character, Marva, the main old black lady, is kind of set completely out of time in some ways. But then she immediately shows up at the sheriff's office, which is like clearly more modern than kind of what we're introduced to. And that's something that I think that's fun about this movie is and then, I mean, to complete that thought, and then we're introduced to Tom Hanks' character. And like we've said, Tom Hanks' character is 110% a man out of time, kind of just weirdo.
He's really got nothing to do with anything at all. He's completely out of fish out of water here.
So, and then the way we're introduced to the rest of our crime group is through a series of, to make that sound way more film bro than it maybe even is, a series of vignettes of these different characters. It's like, and I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of dumb. I did not pick up on we're introducing a character in each of these until maybe we got to Lumps. And then I was like, oh, okay, we're definitely like introducing characters here. What it kind of just feels like is this very matter of fact, and I hate to use this word, but world building. We're kind of just building out where we are. And that's what it is. I mean, I think world building's overused, but it is what it is, where we're introduced to each one of these characters, including Gawain kind of introduces us to the casino and the way things are going. And that's a very funny scene. But then we're introduced to the general because he him and his wife take out these two thugs who try to rob the store.
They want that donut money.
Yeah, I think that's the point at which the movie, I made a note of it. Yeah, the donut shop scene just happened and I'm really intrigued. That's probably when I was like hooked. Is like, okay, I still don't quite know what we're doing here. Because it goes from that, I think, to, oh no. Then it goes from that like back to church or something. But I was like, okay, I'm in. Where are we going? But I think what's really interesting about this movie, and I mean, we've laid out the plot already, is the robbery. What the movie feels like it's building to happens just a little bit over halfway through the movie.
Right. It takes its time getting to it.
Yeah, it takes its time getting there, but also it's halfway through the movie, and you're like, well, they just did it. What's gonna, like, clearly hijinks will ensue. But like, where do we go from here?
Right.
And then she finds him out. I mean, I don't know. This is a Coen Brothers movie, so it's so rich with dialogue and character, like throwaway characters and character moments, that it's, I mean, we could spend forever, I think, talking about this film. And what's really interesting, I mean, going into this film, to kind of jump back and jump all around, I'm a bit scatterbrained in this.
You're just
Uh,
jumpy.
I'm just a little jumpy guy.
You're just a jumpy
Uh,
guy.
my expectations going into this, I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but what's really funny is uh, we are going from Arrival into this movie.
Yeah.
This
Couldn't
movie,
have had better whiplash, I think.
yeah, this movie has the task of being the film that follows Arrival on the show. I mean, I had watched part of a movie uh, of the Last Waltz,
Mhm.
that documentary slash concert film about the band, and that doesn't count as like a full movie at all. So like this still is like, you go from, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but you go from a movie you and I both didn't like, you go from like kind of the anti Andy and Santino film to this, which I feel like, not to speak for you or myself too early, is very much a movie that we're here for.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like that this is, not that we're gonna come out at the end of this and be like, this is the best movie ever made, but
Mhm.
like when we're looking for a fun time, we're going to movies like this instead of Arrival.
Yeah, I wanted to give you a palate cleanser.
Yeah, and that's kind of, yeah, that's what this is. Is like, okay, movies can be fun. Uh, so it's kind of like, I was telling my dad about it because we didn't watch it together. Uh, that this movie is kind of like, you take characters from a bunch of different Coen brothers movies, or just like a bunch of different movies in general,
Mm.
and you bring them together, and that's the cast of the movie. I mean, we kind of talked about how it's this like ragtag group, but it really is like, you pull a character from True Grit or something like that
Mm.
out, and that's Tom Hanks's character. You pull Marlon Wayans out of a Wayans brothers film,
Mhm.
and that's who he is. Like, with some, maybe a Cohen's tweak
Mm.
here and there, but that's
Pretty
who he is.
much.
You pull J.K. Simmons into this movie, and who knows?
He's from basically Fargo, give or take, minus the
Yeah,
accent.
yeah, like, and I don't know, man. He's a character from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they hit the nail on the head. Like, that's, I just, when he said that, I went, oh my goodness, it makes so much sense. Like, I don't know. It's a hilarious, like, super rich, matter of fact character. That's hilarious. And then the general is from like MASH.
Yeah, from like a war movie or something. You're right. It is. I never thought about it exactly in those terms, but it really is like you took every main character, or maybe even every side character, like supporting character, from the top five or six film genres, and just
Yeah.
put those archetypes in a movie and went, now let's make a different thing with that.
Including like a dumb jock
Hmm.
supporting character,
Yeah.
and then with a heart of gold, and then I want to like underline your point of, and then put them in the deep south,
Hmm.
in like a totally different environment, and
Yeah.
we're gonna make them
And then
rob.
like a noir.
Yeah,
Shoot the movie, the majority of this movie, if you take some still frames, especially from the night scenes, it looks like a friggin' noir movie. You could turn it black and white and it looks great. So it's
yeah,
everything about it is handled the opposite of where you think we're going to go with it.
yeah. Take your expectations and put them out the window for most of this movie.
With
It
a healthy
it
dose of church music and nappy roots, I think is another interesting
Yeah,
addition.
yeah. You throw. I mean, and that's where you get me, right? You start with a Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers
Hmm.
needle drop out the gate, which, like,
Hmm.
that's a moment where I was like, this is why I like the Coens. As simple as it is, it's like, boom, like, needle drop. We're setting the tone, and we're just gonna like ease into this movie. And look, anybody can do that, and not everybody does it well. But that was like, okay. I mean, I know I said I was hooked. Not, I wasn't hooked till later, but that's just, I think that's fair, and I think that represents. But I still was like, okay, we're starting off in the right place. I
Oh
may
yeah.
not be. This can go anywhere from here, but this is good. This is, I like this. So where do we go from here? Oh my goodness. So the fact she's all up in arms about a Tribe Called Quest song is immediately hilarious. The hippity hop music that's
Right.
being played too loud by Wesak is I left my wallet in El Segundo.
Yeah.
And she says that a million times, which is just hilarious. But it's just such a funny moment where she's all like, this movie comes out swinging,
Mhm.
and it's just great.
He's
I'm
hanging
all
over the pit, Sheriff. He's over the fire pit. And she, many, many tickle you farson. They're like, what? She's like, you've been weighed and found wanting. I'm telling. She's going through like every Bible verse, every cliche, everything she can say. She's coming out with that, and you're like, well, there's that character. What else are we gonna do?
yeah, that's kind of the first like 20 minutes of this film
Mm,
is like I said, it's kind of this world building of like vignettes of okay, there she is, and this is who she is. And then we're introduced when we're introduced to her and Tom Hanks's character, it's just great. She says, oh, what's she say? I wrote it down. Hold the fort. Go fetch Pickles.
mm,
I thought that was great because her cat,
mm.
Pickles, runs out. We have that whole moment. And then from there on, for like the next 20 minutes of the film, whenever they're on the same scene together, she just looks so confused at Tom Hanks. And it's so good. She has this great look of like, what on earth is going on? Like, what's this guy's deal
Mm.
for most of it? And that's a great, great moment.
Well, and he's an Edgar Allan Poe fan, and every time he recites Helen, everybody's like it's this crazy thing, and just because there's like some big words, and it's really Poe is fairly he was just average. It wasn't anything, but the fact
Yeah,
that
and
that was like who he's into is hilarious to me too.
maybe that's what like explains this character and like his look, his get up, and all that is his idol is Edgar Allan Poe,
Mhm.
and like he adores him.
Mhm. And all of
So
Tom Hanks's lines, very, very. There's a massive. I mean, it's a thesaurus. Everything he says is a thesaurus, and it would have to be a lot of flubbed lines, I would think, to get all that right. Because I was listening to it a lot more closely this time, and there were some lines where he was just saying so many things, and you're going, "That's the longest way to say the simplest thing,"
yeah,
and he's just going about it with as much flowery dialogue as he can. And it's a joy to behold, and just the way each of those characters don't fit together is great because in the fact that they don't fit and they are all mismatched actually makes them really great together because none of them work. Did you catch, by the way, when we're introduced to Garth Pancake? Did you catch Bruce Campbell for 2 seconds?
I did. I have a note about that because I went, "Is that And then it
Yep.
like cut back, and I went, "It is. That's him."
That's the second only time the Coens have allowed him a cameo. The only other time was in Fargo, and you see him on a TV. But that's because, of course, the Coens helped edit Evil Dead, so everybody knows
Yeah.
everybody. But so okay, so we get into I'd say the meat of the story when they're actually doing the robbery. Or rather leading up to the robbery, they have that setback. I think that's where we should camp out for a moment. They have the setback, they run to a rock, they're in a Waffle Hut, and they're all meeting.
They're in a waffle. Oh, it's so good. Well, part of the setback is is Gawain
Mhm.
ha gets fired.
Yeah.
Their inside man gets fired.
Mm.
And I think some of my favorite dialogue in the whole film is Tom Hanks working through how they can maybe get back, like how he can get him back in. And it's
Mm.
like I should have gone back and written it, but it's like the maybe you could get him some flowers or a gift basket. Like
Yeah.
it's this like
A box of
maybe
chocolates has been
a
known to melt the heart of any even the most crotchety of
yeah. And he's like doing this, and he's very concerned because this is
Mhm.
and it's like it's so good because it's like to help the listener who hasn't seen. You have Tom Hanks doing that, and he's doing this like very much so like stage acting over like Victorian Gothic way of talking.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then
This heavy Southern accent and
yeah,
big fake teeth. I think they actually gave him some fake teeth because very that you can almost hear it on his the way he's doing
Yeah.
his S's.
And sometimes he will have like nervous ticks of like
Mhm.
laughing, like
Yeah.
in the middle of talking. He will.
Mhm.
And opposite him in the same scene, the people that are acting are is him and Marlon Wayans playing like a gangsta black guy. And it's that juxtaposition. It's like eclectic is like the cast of characters is like definitionally eclectic. It's like
Mhm.
their differences is what makes it interesting how they get along. And it's so funny. But then they're at Waffle Hut and
Mhm.
Garth, that's where we're introduced. Garth Pancake mentions that his
Oh yeah, because Mountain Girl comes
that
walking up.
that mountain girl can come, and be a
Yeah,
part of this.
and she can help him out, blowing the rock up or whatever.
Yeah, and that's when we're really introduced. I think there's been a little bit before, but between Gawain and Garth's tension they have,
Yeah,
that he brought his
yeah,
girl to Waffle Hut.
yeah. And this is a criminal enterprise. Mum's the word. It's like, well, yeah, but don't keep anything from Mountain. That's not how you maintain a loving, caring relationship. It's like, yeah, we're robbing a casino though, man. Like, why would what you know that you guys are both gonna have to do your own share. She's not getting an extra share. So like we're gonna have to trust her now. And out of all that, like, and then also the Coens have this thing, and you haven't seen The Big Lebowski, but you will eventually. There's always somebody causing a scene in a restaurant. That's like kind of a trope of theirs. So, naturally he and Gawain start arguing, and Gawain pulls the Glock on him in the middle of the Waffle Hut. And you got to figure, well, everybody's looking at this. Like, we don't see anybody else, but everybody else is kind of looking over. They're like, well, that's probably not good.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. It's such a funny moment between them two. And we have a shot there, and we have a shot when we're introduced to him too. But just Lump's screen presence is
Mhm.
hilarious because he constantly just looks somewhere on the spectrum.
Mm. He looks almost sedated half the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he calls, and I wish they would have kept doing this. I don't know why they didn't. But in that scene, in the Waffle Hut scene, Lump calls Tom Hanks's character Coach,
Hmm.
and I thought that was hilarious. He starts calling Professor later, but he goes Coach, and that was just so funny. Uh, just like that's the only way he can. If someone's a leader, it's Coach.
Yeah.
Is a simple but really funny idea.
So they eventually, thanks to Lump, decide to just bribe Mr. Goodge and get Marlon Wayans his job back. And he does. He gets his job back. They blow up the rock, and then they actually,
Well, to be fair,
yeah.
before they blow up the rock,
Mhm.
we have the scene where uh the old lady of the house is going to be given like Tom Hanks's character has given her concert
Oh
tickets
yeah, to get her out of the house. Yes.
to get her out of the house. And like just as she's going away, she's in the car that Tom Hanks has arranged to take her to this like gospel concert. In the basement, Garth, Gawain, the general, and Lump are going over the like safety protocol of
Yeah,
dealing with
C4.
explosives. and, and Gawain's like, "Are you sure this is safe?" And he's like, "Well, of course this is safe. They're completely inert on their own." And he's like going because he's gone through like the presentation. He takes a hammer. Garth Pancake takes the hammer to the C4, and we then cut to outside and just boom from the
The whole
basement.
street shakes.
Yeah, the whole
Dust
street.
falls off of the house.
Yeah.
Car alarms are going off in the distance. The old lady's like, "What was that?" Tom Hanks is like, I don't know if I actually even heard anything at all. I think it's
Yeah. Which is great. Like that's just hilarious. Of like, I don't actually know what you're talking about. It's like such a level of gaslighting to the point of uh I don't even know what you're referring to.
I love when he went back in there and they all come spilling out from the basement and Lump's screaming blood, blood, and the general comes up and just paintbrushes him, smacks him a couple times, and then he's Pancake's bleeding. And the only thing Marlon Wayans is doing is screaming at him about how, we can save the finger, blah, blah, blah. I see him do it. The woman cut off his penis, threw it out a window. They sewed it back on. I seen it in a porno. He was used. It was weird, but he was using it. And it's this constant thing. And then that's kind of going on.
That's the slapping is what I forgot because I knew
Yeah.
it was like he went in and there was something hilarious, and then Coen brothers level violence for like 2 seconds, which is like Garth's hand is just pouring out blood, and you only see it for like a few seconds, and and yeah, and Gawain is like, is that mono like he keeps saying, "Come on, we got to go get it. Come on, I've seen it."
And while all this is going on, you kind of forget. Like, I think you think as the audience that the old lady probably drove away by now. No, we cut back outside. And she's still there in the car, and you can kind of hear them outside, and you hear Gawain like screaming and cursing and stuff. And her friend who's with her is like appalled by this, and they're like, "Well, they're Renaissance musicians. They play Rococo music." She's like, "Mm-hmm." And then they finally leave. So Garth Pancake loses a finger. He wants workman's comp for it, but you're not going to get workman's comp because this is a criminal enterprise.
Which was just so good. And then the general goes chasing after the finger. Which,
because the cat steals the finger.
Because Pickles has the finger.
And Pickles keeps the finger until the end of the movie.
Oh, in the waffles scene, this is another line that I need to make sure I get right. Is the waitress comes up and is like, "Can I get you guys anything?" And Tom Hanks is like, "We must get waffles. We need like to think we got like," it's like, but there's like in just the silliness of this movie, he's like, "We need waffles, man. We are at the Waffle Hut and we need waffles." And it's like, what? How is that the one thing we need right now?
We need waffles, and we need to think, and we have to have syrup, we have to have the pancakes and waffles and all the stuff, and we got to think. We just needed to get some thinking done. It was just like a stream of consciousness, like all of the nerves coming out of like, okay, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And then we also get as scene transitions twice, because after they do that and they blow off Garth's finger, and then they're finally go ahead.
And during that scene, this is another thing I wrote down that I want to make sure we emphasize for whatever reason is he walks away from the car with Marva and then runs up the steps really quick. It's really
get back inside,
yeah. And then the chaos.
Hanks's physical performance is just as good as his vocal performance in this movie. He's got it down. The physicality of the character is great. And by the way, for the people at home, what we've established is that as they've been digging this tunnel, they've been disposing of the dirt in big trash bags over this bridge that overlooks the Mississippi. And there's this big trash barge that goes by, or I guess multiple barges that go by seemingly every like half hour. And so they just dump, and you see these overhead shots, these really cool overhead shots of just these trash bags falling into this abyss and then landing on the barge and seagulls flying away. And it's always foggy, and it's really cool at this bridge. So that's a recurring motif.
It's where the movie starts. The movie starts
and ends
there.
At that barge, yeah. And so they finally have tunneled through. They're loading up the cash. Gawain's the inside man. And there's a small setback on Pancake's part because he's a member of a certain group. I don't know if you want to explain that.
He
has a medical condition.
Yeah, he's got IBS. The movie kind of sets that up in a moment where him and Gawain are in one of their altercations, and he kind of just stops and looks like he's really holding something in, and then moves on. It's like right before he blows his finger off, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I love when he says IBS, and Gawain just looks at him and goes, "You be what?" He's like, "No, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I gotta go. Is there a bathroom?" And from that moment on, he never shuts up about pooping.
Yeah, he goes. They're on the riverboat, and he's like, "I need a bathroom," and so they like walk him to the bathroom, and then he's like,
plot hole. I guess the only plot hole in the movie is there are cameras all over casino, so you'd think you probably wouldn't want to walk this guy during closing hour through the casino, but whatever. We're gonna overlook that.
Yeah,
we don't care. It's a fun movie anyway.
I think this movie This movie doesn't take itself seriously enough to warrant
Yeah,
serious concern about plot holes.
exactly.
Because, like, to your point about like them in the restaurant, it's like this movie isn't set in real life,
No.
and so who cares?
Right.
It's not like a whole movie that has like stakes based around the events happening at one of 12 locations on the planet where they need to
Right.
like crack a
Learn a language.
language that then
Aliens.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not like that.
Anyways, says he feels 30 pounds lighter, and I think that's really funny.
He and Mountain Girl met at an irritable bowel singles meeting, which is fantastic.
That is so they at a mixer.
Yeah.
Which they had somewhere because the tourism industry is in decline. Which is so good. Darn it. It's so fun. And so yeah. I'm trying to understand my notes. The moment when the explosion goes off,
Mhm.
and there's always been this other security guard working the casino.
Mhm. Oh, well, sorry. Just for the people at home, because they have no clue what we mean by explosion.
Right.
What they were planning on doing with the C4 was to detonate it after they robbed the casino. They were going to blow it up in the middle of the tunnel to collapse the earthen tunnel so that there would be no trace of how they got in or out. And Marlon Wayne's character, being the inside man, was going to replaster over the wall in the counting room so it looked like it was just spirited away in the night, right? So they set off the charge and then go ahead.
And there's this moment where we're back in the riverboat, and Gawain is with this security guard who's been set up before. It's just this guy who laughs at everything.
Yeah, just this fat guy who laughs all the time.
Gawain looks terrified, and he's like, "Did you just fart?" And the security guard guy just starts laughing again, and just takes goldfish and just pours them into his mouth.
Yeah, dude, that guy is a perfect. He perfectly encapsulates what a Coen Brothers side character is. This man has no dialogue. His only purpose is to be fat and to laugh, and that itself is a recurring joke.
Yeah,
a guy who's fat who laughs. Like when they introduce him, the one guy, and I wrote it down, and excuse the language, but this is what the guy says. The guy walks up to him and he's insulting him constantly. And the guy's laughing through the whole thing. And he tells him, and I quote, "If ass was nickels, you'd be a millionaire."
And he laughs. The guy's
and
like,
he laughs.
"Oh, I just see."
It's amazing. I think the Coens, and I actually looked at my dad last night and I said this. This may be blasphemy. I don't know. This may be a travesty to say this or unacceptable in some way, but I feel like the Coens are just as authentic at black cinema as real black cinema. Like they just
we can talk about this. I'm not cutting you off to stop the thought.
Right.
But we can either open this can of worms now or a little bit later.
We'll open it later.
I have thoughts. And I don't
later.
know.
Let's get through the plot later. Now and we'll open
but that's later. Your setup. That's
right.
That's your
foreshadowing.
Cold open. That's your cold open right there. J.K. Simmons, Garth Pancake keeps saying, "Okay, just a trial balloon," whenever he suggests like the worst idea.
Balloon. Easiest thing in the world.
Just a trial balloon. I gotta use that. Might come into my vocabulary whenever I suggest something that I know is going to be bad. Because every time it's like that Mountain Girl gets a share, that he gets extra compensation for losing a finger. He's like, "Well, it was just a trial balloon."
Just trial balloon. Easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Coens have almost catchphrases, but they're not annoying like catchphrases. They're just good jokes and weird dialogue that gets reused. And characters say things a lot, and it becomes a joke. I think he said trial balloon 2 or 3 times.
Well, and people are that way. So I don't think it's crazy to do that. I think that's something that if people have phrases they use a lot. I have a buddy who's ruined a couple things for the rest of us. And so we say them a lot the way he says them, but it's merely because they are his catchphrases.
Right.
So, and I'm sure like we all have quirks like that. But that's like an example of like justifying that in film is like we all
Mhm.
There's
My
people.
my whole reason of pointing it out is simply that I'm impressed that they can do it, and Seinfeld did this as well, that they can do it in a way that doesn't come off as a catchphrase. It doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
Because when you're watching like Family Matters or something else, it's like, did I do that? There's something, what you talk about, Willis. There's a thing that happens, and you're like, well, there's the catchphrase, right?
Yeah.
Lubba lubba nub nub, whatever it is, like there's the catchphrase. But over here, it just feels like, well, this is the character. And that's like a really good way to write it. But I digress.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. So they get back and the old lady finds them,
Hmm.
right? And then they're like, well, crap, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. And the old lady finds him specifically because she comes home from church early and the C4 charge didn't go off on time. And Garth has to climb in there and manually set it off. And then he gets blown out of the tunnel and it blows money all over the basement. And she walks in on that,
And
which is
she's
great.
yeah. So
She's not even that concerned about like the money at first so much as she's just like, well, I I can tell something's wrong here. And I'm like, yeah, you think? Like you didn't notice that every time they were supposedly playing music, they always just like they never hid the CD player.
yeah,
None of those instruments are, not one of them is a string instrument, like a violin or something. There's one that's almost a guitar, but none of them are string instruments. Yet you're hearing like string quartets most of the time. So even though Marva Munson isn't a moron, she also really doesn't pay attention to what these guys are doing down there.
yeah. Marva Munson is not stupid, and I think that's a point that I want to bring up right now, which I think is really interesting. We're gonna start bringing in some more film commentary here than
Yes.
just laughing about what the movie is. But Marva is uh, a Christian character,
Hmm.
and but isn't played stupid.
No.
And I think the movie kind of messes with your expectations with that when
Mhm.
it's they offer her a chunk of the money because
Yeah.
eventually, and I'm jumping ahead here, they like kind of let her in on the truth even though it's still full of lies.
Yeah.
They let her in on part of the truth, and you think for a moment she's going to like give in and kind of take her share
Hmm.
or like believe what she wants about the money. And then she doesn't. And I think that's really cool because, and we talk about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but we've talked about it privately as Christians. Um, Christians in cinema tend to be portrayed as either stupid or the worst people ever.
Hmm.
It's not ever really original, but here it's kind of matter of factly handled, and she has character. She's kind of, you know, oblivious to what's really going on. But
Yeah.
that's to comedic effect, and it's a comedy. So
Right.
like it's not like you can't make any funny jokes about the character who's a Christian.
Mm.
And I thought that was interesting. And almost to a point, she's divinely protected in this film
Yeah.
because when they go to kill her,
Yeah.
they
Later in the
can't,
movie.
none of them can do it,
Right.
either through their own trial or by some seeming intervention. And I think
Yeah.
that's really like that's reading some into it. The movie's not there's not a angel chorus beam of light before every time this happens, but
Mm.
it's
No, but the more you become familiar, and I'm only going to bring this up now because you mentioned this, the more you see of the Coens' work, the more kind of Old Testament Jewish heritage starts to come out
mhm.
in the terms of like divine grace or divine punishment. You'll see that a lot more in Coen stuff, especially their more obscure titles. So that's not a mistake. I don't think you're reading into it at all. I think it's definitely there. And also, I mean, again, to the point of her not being stupid, like there's no smoking in the house. The general's always smoking. And then she comes down in the basement and he just like flips the cigarette back in his mouth, still lit. And she always smells smoke. And she looks at him because she knows he's got to be smoking. But she
Those
just,
moments are great.
hmm
Those moments are fantastic. Very like Three Stooges
hmm
level humor that I'm all
you
there
can feel
for.
it. You can feel it for sure. So she
So
catches him
yeah,
and
they draw straws.
well, at first they try to lie and just say that, the money is Garth's money because he doesn't trust banks, and she doesn't buy that. And so then Tom Hanks basically tells her
That's
the
such
truth.
a good moment, by the way, in the kitchen. Like they're trying to spin this lie
Mm-hmm.
where all the guys are helping clean up after her tea party,
Yeah.
which is just hilarious.
Church lady tea party.
Church lady tea party. They're all helping clean up after, and Tom Hanks will say something, and one of the guys will be like, "That's true."
Yep,
And
that's right.
I don't know. That just feels like a very authentic group of guys, the
Mhm.
boys moment of
Mhm.
like, it's true, I was there. Never trust the Federal Reserve. Like, and I love that. I'm all here
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah, so they do that, and then eventually she's like, no, no. And so then, like you said, Tom Hanks kind of gives her the truth. He tells her that they stole the money, and then he tells her that they were originally planning on giving portions of it to their own charities, which is a lie. But then he says something that I'm not sure is actually a lie or not, which is that once the shareholders of the insurance company have to cough up to cover the loss, it's only equivalent to about 1 penny. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but in all honesty, the way insurance policies are written up for gambling establishments, it's probably only a few dollars that each of them lose. So that's probably close to true. And so he kind of tempts her with that as like, it's only 1 penny out of everybody's pocket. Give it all to Bob Jones University because she's big on Bob Jones University. But then she looks at Other and she's like, no, no, it's wrong. So tell you what, and it's a great deal, by the way. She's like, I'll let you guys go. I won't call the cops as long as you return the money and you go to church with me. And Tom Hanks is more appalled at having to go to church with her than he is at returning the money. And so then they're like, well, I guess we got to kill her because this isn't going to work. Like she's seen our faces, she knows our names. Let's draw straws and see who has to kill her. And that's really where the other half of the plot kicks in, because the main plot of the movie is we're going to rob this bank, but then the movie's namesake kicks in the last half hour, which is, well, we're going to try to kill this old lady. And you're like, well, what do you mean try? Like it should be pretty easy. And that's to your point of like being divinely protected and their stupidity. It's like stuff happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Draw
work out.
straws. Gawain gets the short straw. He goes to shoot the old lady, and we flash back to his childhood and his own mom, who's like terribly abusive.
Mhm. And for
to
some
him.
reason, he doesn't want to shoot that person.
Yeah. And it reminds him of his mom because Martha's been slapping him,
Yeah.
and his mama was slapping him, so it helps remind. And so he's like, I can't do it.
Mm.
Like, let's draw straws again. And they're like, well, we can't to protect drawing straws, we can't let you do that. But then Garth has the line of like, son, you got to do your responsibility and kill that old lady, which is just great. They're all like, yeah. And even like Lump, who has a heart,
Mhm.
is like, yeah, we got to kill her.
Yeah. So then that's the argument.
So then, yeah, then
Yeah.
Garth and Gawain get in this argument, and Gawain has his Glock out,
Mhm.
and there's a scuffle between them, and then Gawain gets shot.
Yeah. And dies instantly.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, crap. Now we got to dump him off the
Yeah. They're
the
like,
pier
oh,
into
darn
the
it.
thing. So that's one guy down. And then I think while they're going to do that, Garth packs up all the money, and it's revealed that he and Mountain were planning on stealing the whole pile. And he goes out to load the money up, and then the general chokes him to death. And it's apparently they kill them both and dump both their bodies overboard. And so now we draw straws again, and we get the general, which
Yeah.
might be my favorite death in the whole movie. No, it absolutely is my favorite death in the whole movie. Do you want to walk us through the general's death?
So the general walks up very slowly. Again, this is at night, and this is shot like a noir, so heavy shadows. He walks up the steps, and he's got his like string that he's used to choke out apparently Garth and Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And he's ready to go. He's got his cigarette just bellowing, and then he puts it in his mouth, and he goes to go in the bedroom, and he's
inching closer.
Yeah, he's inching closer, and just as he gets close enough, a cuckoo clock goes off, and it scares him, and he swallows the cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
And then he grabs what he thinks is like a drink, but is
Mm.
really Martha's dentures.
Yeah, in a glass of
Juice.
water.
Yeah, drinks it, is starts choking even more, and then like runs out of the room and trips and falls down the
Yeah,
steps.
the cat trips him and he,
Yeah,
he falls down the steps and cracks his neck and dies.
he's
It's the greatest fall down the steps ever. End over end, slam into the wall, slide all the way down the stairs. And throughout all these events, every time something shocking or interesting happens, we cut to the painting of Othar on the mantle. He's like, he's
yeah,
got
he's
like,
got a different expression,
yeah. So then they dispose of the general, and now it's just Lump and the professor.
and they're standing on the bridge,
Hmm.
and the professor hands a revolver to Lump,
Hmm.
and Lump's like, you know what, I can't do it. I can't kill the old like.
Maybe we should
Let's
be going to church.
Yeah, maybe we should be going to church. Maybe we should give the money back.
Hmm.
And then he goes to and the professor,
Hmm.
Tom Hanks's character, is like, no. And again, more insulted, I think, at going to church
Hmm.
than anything else. And then Lump goes to shoot him,
Hmm.
and it just
Misfires, I guess.
it misfire. It just clicks
Hmm.
like it's not loaded. And so Lump looks at the gun to
Mhm.
see if it's got bullets in it and shoots himself.
Yep.
And he
And
falls off the
falls.
bridge onto one of the garbage things.
Hmm.
And in the meantime, all these like crows have been flying around,
Hmm.
and the professor, being the Poe fan he is, he goes, "Oh, a raven."
Yeah.
And in the meantime, one of the ravens has been on this statue that's above him, which, by the way, is our first shot of the movie,
Hmm.
and flies off it, causing the head of this like gargoyle statue to fall and hit the professor on the head.
Hmm.
And it hits him on the head, and he flips over the bridge, and then the like tail of his coat gets
Mhm.
stuck on the bridge, and he gets hung by his neck
Hmm.
against a picturesque sunrise.
Right.
And then he falls into the garbage and moves on.
Yeah. And what's funny, what's so ironic about his death is if he would have just not gone into another soliloquy and like start reciting crap and just like after Lump went over, he could have just left, he would have never died.
Yeah.
But instead he had to like wax poetic and then clonk. So then he's dead. And then the next morning, Marva wakes up like her dentures glass is empty. There's like this weird hole in the wall on the steps where the general banged into it. And the money's downstairs and all the guys are gone. And so she's like, oh, guess they couldn't face the music. And she goes to report it to the police, who like phones are ringing off the hook. 1.6 million vanishes overnight, which by the way, if you divide 1.6 million amongst those guys, it's only like $320,000. It's not like a lot of money.
Yeah, I did the same thing, which I guess I've maybe adjusted for inflation to like the 90s.
I mean, it's good money. I'd
It's
like
good money.
$320,000 in one pop, but that's not like when you tell me we're going to rob a bank, I think we're at least going to get $500,000 each. At least.
Yeah.
And so then she goes to George Wallace and she's like, I gotta turn it in. I gotta tell you, it's about that casino money. He's like, what? And he's like, you know what happened? She goes, oh yeah, I got it at home. It's in my cell.
Previously in the movie, the sheriff had stopped by
Mhm.
when her and Tom Hanks were having conversation, and she's like, well, let me introduce you to my friend.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks is gone. And so the sheriff thinks she's nuts, down to the point of going up to the room that he's quote unquote renting,
Mhm.
and he's hiding under the bed, and she's like, what are you doing under there, professor? And the sheriff is like, oh my goodness, this lady's crazy. The last the sheriff's known, this lady's out of her mind.
Mhm. And so now she's got the casino money at home in her cellar. And they're like, you know what? She's like, what should I do with it? And the other guy's like, why don't you keep it? She's like, what? And they're like, yeah, you keep it. She's like, you think I could give it all to Bob Jones University? And they're like, that'd be nice. You do that. And so she does. And we end the movie. We follow. She goes home. Pickles gets out, and he's got the finger. He's got Garth's finger in his mouth. He runs all the way down to the bridge, and he waits until the barge comes by, and he drops the finger. And we get like another old blues needle drop, old gospel needle drop. And then it takes us out. And then halfway through the credits, there's like another like church scene where
Which, by the way, these church scenes, I gotta
Great stuff.
camp here for a second. The church scenes are incredible. The choir director guy,
Those are all real people.
talk about a Coen Brothers character.
He looks like Little Richard.
He looks like Little Richard, a Coen's brother character who doesn't have a single line of dialogue except singing along, doing a Little Richard dance. He's this black guy. Yeah, think of like Little Richard hair, but not even, because Little Richard's hair like tend to be curly. This is just like put almost
pompadour.
Has a pompadour hairstyle on this black choir director. It's great. And then at the previous scene, this is not the end of the movie, this is early on in the movie, but I need to talk about it, is that preacher guy talking about Mount Sinai and
I smite, you smite, we smite, we done smoked.
That's so good, and they're all laughing. That scene is so incredible. So incredible.
It's a black church,
like,
man.
He's singing through his sermon, and then he's like, and now let's pray.
Yeah, he works it up. You think they're gonna launch into another one because they were just through like a 5-minute musical sequence, right? And then he starts telling you they were in decline, and you're going through that, and it's amen, and everybody's building up, and you're like, let us pray. And then we go into that, and you're like, whoa, we just cut it right off.
Yeah,
there it is. That guy. So I'm pretty sure that choir is credited in the end credits. So they are a real choir for sure. I'm pretty sure that music director is a real music director. I don't know if the pastor is a real pastor, but I don't know why you'd cast an actor to do it. You could probably just get a pastor from anywhere in the South and it would be fine. So I'm willing to go out on a limb, despite not seeing any evidence of this in my research.
I think he was credited as an actor.
Really?
Burst your bubble. Yeah.
Darn. Because he felt like a pastor to me. Like he felt perfect. I've seen that guy in other places. Like we all know that guy.
Yeah. 100%. So church voice. I don't know. Maybe IMDb is incomplete. Okay, so if you've enjoyed us talking about this movie so far, and you don't want to hear two white dudes talk about why people might not like this movie, skip forward and we'll talk about, or you might want to pause. You might just want to not listen anymore to this episode.
Plug your ears and go la 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 la.
Yeah, and then maybe you'll magically skip ahead to like when we're rating. There's a transcription. There's a transcription feature on Spotify. Find the word rated.
Right. But let's remember though, Andy, only one of us is the white guy. Yeah. As Mark has clearly laid out, in a room full of white guys, I am the blackest white guy because I'm Italian. So I
race.
Right.
Yes.
I have a bit of right to this conversation.
Yeah, and some of us have been invited to the cookout. Some of us haven't. That's not the point. I do not want to pull rank in any sort of way. Well, I do want to talk
also,
about
Andy. Let's remember also, Andy, before you don't pull rank. Let's remember that my people were considered worse than black people when we first came over on the boat. So if we're gonna play this competition,
So here's what I just want to. I seriously want to preface it with. This is a comedy, and that's like kind of all I have to say. It's like, this is a comedy. Don't take yourself so serious. But let's try to dissect this because
this is our armchair kind of like
some people.
Bubble
this is
type.
Totally. Now that we've made our apologies up front. Do people not like this movie because the Coen brothers wrote black characters the way they did? Why don't people like this movie? Because I don't get it. Now, don't get me wrong, and I don't want to spoil anything.
I just got you wrong. I just got you so wrong, dude.
Get me so wrong. I'm not crazy about this movie. This movie isn't like I don't think this is the best movie ever made.
No, and I knew it wasn't going to overshadow Raising Arizona. I know nothing will. But
I don't know if nothing will, but we'll see. Nothing will for a while. But this movie's really good. And people act like this is a bad movie.
Right.
But so you brought this up, and this is where we should start. That the Coen brothers seem to write black characters just as well as anybody else.
Yeah, and maybe seems authentic to me.
I mean, me too. I mean, that's the thing is like,
maybe that's racist for saying that. I don't know. But
thinking about it as the Coens, and like, I don't know, it's a movie. It's a comedy. like Blazing Saddles exists. I don't
Right.
know. Like let's take it easy here. I think it's a Coen Brothers movie. So you need to understand there's like a level of caricature from the start.
Mhm.
Almost like, and I haven't seen all of it in a long time. But like think of like Fargo,
Yeah.
or even think of, and maybe a worse example is like True Grit. No one thinks they're actually trying to represent that's not a realistic representation of those people. It's a dark comedy, or it's their characters.
Mhm.
And so they do that in this movie, but with characters of all races, right?
Yeah.
So I don't get if that could be the problem, or if people just don't think it's as strong as the Coen's other work. But I mean, I'll come out and say it, and this is kind of like my point.
Mhm.
I think personally, and like me thinking about this movie, and this has like nothing to do with the race elements of what we were saying. At first, I was like, I'm not totally crazy about it. I don't know how good it was, but then I stopped and thought, well, by what standard am I judging this as a good movie, or how good this movie is? Here at The Only Problem, we care very much for cinematic data analysis.
Mhm.
And so it's like, well, what base am I using here?
Right.
Like, what's the standard? I think if your standard, I mean, not to discredit them at the end of the day, is Coen Brothers, this movie does fall a little short. But if your standard is just like comedy,
Mhm.
then this movie's great. And
Yeah.
I don't get the dislike, or kind of like, it's, unless all the people who write and talk about this movie are just cinemaphile film nerds who
Could
don't
be.
actually care, and
Mhm.
who are like, well, it's not as great as their other work, so therefore it's it's a 6. Like, I don't know. I don't get why this movie doesn't have a following.
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair, and this is kind of getting into my widespread analysis. I don't know how much you want to say about what's been said so far, but like the movie's dated in some ways, not in its characters, but it's got some 2004 CGI. It
Mhm.
looks a little 2000s, when it doesn't look like a film noir. It looked
Right.
very much 2004.
Mhm.
Um, but also, just because a movie looks dated doesn't mean it's bad.
No.
Like, that's another thing I was thinking about. It's like, well, it's kind of dated here and there, but so what? It's at an awkward stage of being dated where it's not truly vintage yet,
Right.
right? So give this movie 5 years, and it'll probably be what all the cool kids are trying to make things look like. So I don't know. That's kind of a big chunk of what I've been thinking about this movie all at
Mhm.
once, and I'll volley it back to you.
I mean, right out of the gate, I think uh to 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 kind of look at the idea of why, separate from race, why this movie is not so well favored amongst especially Cohen fans. I mean, if I'm being as objective as I can, and you look at and I mean, I know you haven't seen Big Lebowski yet, and you haven't seen all of Fargo, and there's a few Cohen movies that, like, in their body of work, where this one lands in their comedies, because again, Coens always do this thing of like comedy, drama, comedy, drama, comedy. They're always switching between the two. They'll do a comedy, then they'll do a drama, do a comedy, then a drama. And so if you take those two and line them up, in terms of which is their strongest comedy, Raising Arizona and Big Lebowski are going to be at the top of that. And some people are going to fight you on which one is the best. I would wager if you go to most film fans, they're going to put Big Lebowski at the top and Raising Arizona as a close, close second. And then everything else under that just kind of falls in the line. And I think this is not the worst Coen Brothers comedy, but I don't think it's the best. I think it might be, for me personally, again, this is getting less objective and more subjective. I'd say that it's like, I think this is my third favorite of their comedies specifically. For film fans and being very objective, it may be one because it's an adaptation, so it's not really wholly originally theirs. At the same time, though, they did so much to distance it from the original that it kind of is their own work. Setting it in the South definitely makes it the polar opposite of setting it in England. Reversing the race and all these things of the characters, no one has the same name, I think, from the original, if I'm not mistaken. So I think if you look at it that way, I can see why maybe people would say that it's not the best. I also think that there's this awkward stage that the movie's in where the comedy's very broad, so broad that I mean you've got basically fart jokes and IBS stuff, right? And then on the other hand, you've got like really highbrow wordplay, which any good comedy, in my opinion, utilizes as broad a comedy as possible. Like you just need to pick from everything so that it doesn't get fatiguing. And there's even a bit of slapstick in this. So I think it works. The problem is I think that it's not as mile a minute, every line is gold the way that like Raising Arizona is, right? Like there's way more memorable lines in Raising Arizona and Big Lebowski than there is in this. But this is still good. So I think that's part of it. And I think also people might not know what to make of the kind of anachronistic time period. Even when I first saw this movie years ago when I was in high school, I caught it on TV. And I saw Tom Hanks as being completely ill-fitting. And I thought, the whole movie would work better if it was set in like the 50s or sometime like when it fits Tom Hanks. And then you realize, well, that's not really the point. The point is all of this is just kind of a mishmash. And sometimes audiences don't know what to do with that. So that could be several reasons why. And then if we got into the race thing, it could be because, you've got white people writing black people. But again, I don't think that there, and that's part of another half of this conversation that we can get into, but I don't think that that's really a good reason to judge it, if that's a reason.
Well, and to volley back though, to like state this point again,
If you ain't
even
no holla back girl, you want to volley back.
if you're saying, well, this is like my third or fourth favorite Coen brothers comedy,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a discredit to this movie
Yeah,
because you're comparing it to Raising Arizona and The Big Lebowski,
right,
which are like two of the most influential comedies ever.
right.
It's almost like you put another name on this movie and it's like, oh my goodness, this movie is incredible.
Yeah. If Jared Hess made this movie, people would be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's like that's kind of that's so interesting to me because of a creative two creatives have made such a volume of work.
Mm-hmm.
What that's actually done is made a pretty darn good movie like seem mediocre.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting just as an observation because the Coens have made tons of movies. I've barely seen a quarter of their work because they've made so much. And I think that's really surprising. I think you contrast that with someone as highly acclaimed as Quentin Tarantino, who intentionally is only making so many films, So not, giving any credit that direction, but it's like it is so interesting to me that like, and that's what the comments you read, right? It's like, well, it's far from their best. And it's like, well, okay, their best is amazing and like a culture shifting comedy.
Right.
You can't do that every time.
No.
Like what do you wouldn't want that every time. And I think part of it for me is that part of why it's not in a Raising Arizona level, because I mean I have nothing to compare to for Big Lebowski as of right now. Stay tuned for that. I'm gonna be honest, I think part of it is when you're talking about the how wide of comedy you can get.
Mm-hmm.
I do think and this is that the Coen brothers doing PG-13 comedy in Raising Arizona is better comedy than anything's fair game in this movie. Not that they get terrible, well, how do I want to put it? Not that the vulgarness of this movie upset me, but the fact that in Raising Arizona you have to have that mile a minute crazy dialogue, and that's kind of like that's a big chunk of what they chose to play with instead of it being whatever. I mean, to be fair, and also like to counter that though, I think the eclecticness of this movie is incredible. I think it's almost before its time in some ways because I feel like those like ensemble, I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, but those ensemble collective casts are like every comedy of the 2010 20 teens, or at least like some pretty big ones are like let's get a crazy cast. But I guess this one takes the dials and it turns up to 11 because you have Tom Hanks playing a like Southern gentleman opposite Marlon Wayans, and then the cast is so crazy.
Right.
But it is like to have they're a crazy cast of people who are different is not, and I guess it is set in a vague time, which that doesn't help. Right? There's
Well, I think the vague, not to stomp on that, but before I forget it, is I would actually argue that the movie is late to the party and not ahead of its time because the more 90s movies you'll see, you realize that the 90s were actually the time when everybody did this kind of, not everybody, that's hyperbole, obviously, but when everybody was doing like kind of weird movies that took place in indeterminate anachronistic times, like that was the 90s thing.
yeah,
Like
that's
that was
fair.
what they did. And so this movie, because it was in the process of like people were trying to get it made for so long, I feel like it kind of had this movie come out in like 98, I think it would have been better received than 2004. Had this movie come
That's
out in
fair.
95, I think it would have been really well received. Like I think it kind of came out at a weird time, and I think when you compare it to the Coen's bigger work, that's another problem. And I think I think it doesn't have a following for a lot of weird reasons. But as you said, if this movie, if you just take it for what it is, and never mind, the oeuvre of never mind the body of work that surrounds it, it's a fantastic movie. It's a great movie. And as you said also, even if you were, you expect to make a culture changing movie every time. Well, even if you did, even if you were like an ultra genius using 500% of your brain and you made The Big Lebowski 10 times in a row, like, right? Like it's every movie is as good as The Big Lebowski. Would the public even know? Because they're going to compare this one to the last one, and the expectation is going to, you know what I'm saying? Like the
Mm-hmm.
expectation is going to not hold up. The way I look at it is like this, and this might maybe make my babbling a little more coherent, is I've noticed that like when I come to TV shows late, like Parks and Rec or Monk or something like that, and I just watch them once they've already aired, and I just watch them on DVD or on streaming or something, I love them, right? But if there's a TV show that's currently running and I have the anticipation of, oh, there's a new episode, I find that I'm always initially disappointed with that episode. I'm like, ah, it wasn't as good as the last ones. And then when time has passed and I'm in like season 8 and I go back and rewatch that episode from season 3 that I wasn't as impressed with, I'm like, well, this is really good. Yeah, because I was in the moment of expecting, and I think that expectation can also ruin somebody's opinion of something. So I think that might be what's happening here.
Yeah. I think that's a really fair point because it is the game of expectations
Hmm.
is what you deal with. And I think this movie defies expectations and defies like categories.
Hmm.
So it's not like you need to be a genius to understand this movie.
No,
It's just there is no category to easily play
pretty much
a lot of this in. So like it's it's a bit of a hard sell, but I don't get why it's not as well acclaimed as it is even now. Like to put it in perspective, this movie hasn't gotten a Blu-ray release.
Really.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like it is in I don't know if maybe it's a rights thing, maybe it's a production like something like that, but I mean you're talking from the filmmakers who made
Hmm.
Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing, Fargo, Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men. The list goes on.
Hmm.
There's a movie of theirs, maybe more than one, that is still in this weird limbo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I mean, maybe not that I've heard, maybe there's a bit of a race component to it, but when it comes to stuff like that, and I remember because I was on some different forums for like screenwriting and stuff like that, and I've talked to people about this before, and I remember one time somebody had come into the forum, and they were like, as a man, can I write a female character if I've not lived that experience? And like I and everybody else on that forum, like just politely kind of just descended on this guy and was like, no, you can write whatever it's creative writing. Like, write whatever you want. If you're concerned about how you're representing a person or a group of people, do some research, figure some stuff out. Do you think everybody who writes a police procedural was a policeman? Do you think that every person who plays anybody on TV is that person? Like, I remember for a split second, people got mad at Bryan Cranston because he played like a paraplegic in a movie. It's like they could have given that to a real guy with yeah, those people don't act though. That's the thing. Like because they're paraplegics. They usually don't act because that's all they could play. Everything is pretend. It's all make believe. No matter how authentic or inauthentic you're going to believe, we have the right and the autonomy to go, we're going to make up some characters. And it's not like no one's met black people. We know what they're like.
Well, like,
We're
I don't
friends.
know.
We work together. We do things. We live in societies with these people. It's not like this is an impossible task. And I don't think there's anything wrong with writing. Not that I even think this is a component, but just as an aside, I don't think there's anything wrong with writing any character you want to. And if you understand the culture, by all means write it. Like I don't care.
I don't know. It's like if you are the hypothetical person who's looking at this movie and going, you're telling me two nerdy white guys made this movie? Look at the white people in this movie. They're ridiculous. Tom Hanks plays a guy who's obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe in the 90s, to the point of looking and acting like a Southern version of him with bad teeth. Garth Pancake is one of the white guys in this movie, is insane. The other one is a sedated numbskull. Like,
and then there's Mr. Gudge.
Yeah.
That's it. There's only 4 white people in the whole movie. It takes place in Mississippi. It's going to be a predominantly black cast.
So it's like, I don't know. It's a thing where it's like, it's kind of a shame we have to even have these conversations. Because your point, it's like, it's make-believe.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should be coming to this movie expecting reality.
Yeah. And
right?
more to the point, you cast actors and they happily joined the cast, said the lines that you wrote. If anyone was uncomfortable with it, it would be one of them. And they weren't. Yeah. So I don't think that really plays anything into why the movie's unpopular. I think this is just one of those movies I think that people decided as a collective that I think it came out at a bad time. It came out during a time when there were a lot of bigger movies that overshadowed it. I know it didn't make a lot of money. It wasn't a failure, but it didn't make a lot of money. And I think it just kind of went overlooked and a lot of people just kind of didn't understand it. I think that might be why.
Do you think this movie will have a resurgence?
If I have my way, I'd like it to have. There are several movies that we're going to cover on this podcast that, especially some very recent movies, very soon, that I think are woefully underappreciated diamonds in the rough, and that more people that deserve to be modern cult classics. And this one definitely needs better recognition for sure.
For sure. Okay, so getting into the rating portion.
Welcome back, viewers.
Okay, if you didn't, welcome to the place in the show where we talk about why we liked the movie, if we liked the movie, and we rate the film. Okay, so I think it's pretty obvious. I like this movie.
Yes,
I liked it a lot.
I had a feeling you would.
Again, it had the privilege of being the pendulum shift, the palate cleanser from Arrival.
Yeah.
So that's adds some points. I thought this movie was really interesting. I want to make this point now. So glad I thought of it. It is. We talk about this almost every time that we watch a Coen's brother film that was shot by Roger Deakins. But it is incredible to me that this is the same group of people that shot insert the blank. No Country, True Grit, Big Lebowski, Barton Fink. I mean, we can go down the list, right, of their collaborations. I am just in awe of the way that the same people can kind of adapt a visual style to fit the film. And that's, I mean, it's kind of shocking. I didn't talk about this when we were together. Roger Deakins just released a book. It's called Reflections. And I picked it up and it's super good. It's super good. It's like part memoir, part him breaking down the film. It's one of these like art book things. And I've been working through it. And he doesn't talk about this movie, which is like, again, no one likes talking about this movie. But he doesn't talk about this movie in the book. But that's such a big thing with him. And I just find that so impressive as a guy who's really drawn to the visual side of films. This movie looks so different. Like, these people went on not that much later, these same people to make movies that look completely different. And I don't know, I think I really, there's a part of me that like personally resonates with that, right? We've been a part of the same crews working on different films, trying to make things look different. And it's hard. Like you really have to put work in. And I think that's even in a movie like this that doesn't like look particularly incredible. It's still different. It
Mhm.
still fits the part. The visual style is a character that needs to be cast in a way. So that's cool. I liked
Mm.
that. Even if I'm not necessarily obsessed with the way the movie looks, I have a level of respect there. Um but yeah, I like this movie. And do you like, well, you like this movie.
I like this movie, yeah. I actually I think I'm a bigger fan of how this movie looks. Not that you hate the way this movie looks, but I really love a lot of the night scenes in this movie. I like that they went in such a noir direction. I also think it's kind of funny because, they, as you said, they go out of their way to adapt the look of a film to whatever the movie's supposed to be about, which is like, hey, genius idea, right? Like it just kind of makes sense. Have the look of the film serve the story and not the other way around. But the interesting thing is, as much as the Coens have this quasi chameleon like way that they approach filmmaking, you can tell a Coen Brothers movie by one frame of it half the time, even though they all kind of look different. And
Mm-hmm.
I find that really interesting that their visual language remains the same despite the actual photography and lighting being different. What lenses they use are the same, what angles they shoot things are from are the same, and the way that they stage things are the same. And you really can't help that because that's just a person's style. So even though they change the light and they change the color grade and they change, certain stylistic things, the bones of what you're seeing, you can tell immediately if it's Cohen's or not. Because they always cover conversations instead of over the shoulder. It's always from inside the conversation on a wide. They're always staging things the same way. And that first, well, not first shot, but the first time we see the sheriff's station, it's just this almost Wes Anderson like flat square building in the middle of nothing, and you just see her kind of ambling in from the side, and you're like, well, that's Coen Brothers. It's either Coen's or Wes Anderson. Like you could
Yeah.
be forgiven for not 100% knowing that shot, but they have a distinct style. But yes, I like this film a lot. Um, my enjoyment of this film has grown over the years. It is definitely not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite comedies. If I have to put it, as we say, in with other Coen Brothers movies, it's not my favorite, but it is in the top three. I think it's my third favorite of theirs.
Nice. So the rating, the the important part, the part you're all here for. I mean,
Yep.
let's be honest. You just want to know the number we gave this movie.
Mhm.
I've thought about it. I actually made a note to myself this time to actually think about it ahead of time. I'm gonna give this movie a 7
Wow.
because I think it's better than movies I give 6, 6.5. And I feel like if I gave it somewhere in between 6.5 and 7, some like weird 6.8, 6.9, I'd come to regret it, like
Yeah.
not giving it more.
So
So
seven is modern classic territory as far as
7
I'm
is high.
concerned.
I think this movie deserves, it's not anything crazy, but I think this is really good. Like I don't know. I liked it better than Mouse Hunt, which is no shade on Mouse Hunt. I really liked Mouse Hunt, but I think it's funnier than Mouse Hunt. And I
Mm.
forget what else I saw on our list that I was fine putting it in the company with those things. So yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's nowhere. Here's the thing. It's in my mind, and maybe it's just like it's because it's different, but like it's nowhere near Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, right? It's a better, we've jumped things.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a 7.
Yeah. That's fair. I think I too would give it probably a seven, maybe 7.1, 7.2. It would be low sevens for me. I don't know if it would go all the way up to an eight, but it would definitely be low sevens. I think it's a modern classic. I think it deserves a better look. Um, does it have your heart, Andrew?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. Yeah. I anticipated that.
I'm gonna say no, and it's not just because it's not Raising Arizona.
Hmm.
I just don't think it does. I think parts of it do, but I
Yeah.
just can't be giving my heart out to every comedy that I like.
Yeah, you got to save up a little bit, save some for yourself. Yeah, I'd say this movie depending on my mood, gets really close to having my heart, but just barely no.
In the right mood, this would be like the best movie ever,
Hmm.
I think. Like, and most enjoyable movie ever. Not like it's not rocketing all the way to the top of best movies of all time, but I think in the right setting with the right people, this movie is a fantastic time.
And the needle drops
I watched
are really
incredible.
solid. They're fantastic.
Incredible. Well, music is well used in this film, and that gets a lot of that. I think that's part of what makes it a 7 for me, is like you do that just so well.
Yeah,
And
it's the full package.
so I think that's it. I think that's what we got for this week's program.
Now, do you know what I'm watching?
I do.
Oh,
I do know what you're
okay.
watching.
Do we want to say it on air?
Let's say it on air.
All right.
To capture your reaction for the
All right.
world.
I'm gonna lower myself. I'm gonna lower my standards.
Yeah, lower your standards. We're hard pivot again.
Yep.
But
go.
I saw it on my list of films that I want you to watch eventually on the
I know what
show.
it's gonna be.
We'll see.
Okay.
I want you to watch Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
That is Rian Johnson's Star Wars film.
I did not see this coming. I thought this was gonna.
I built you up to somewhere when we were hanging out, and I went, you know what?
Yeah.
No,
I thought
I'm not
this was
going
gonna be Godzilla -1.
No.
I was all ready for some Godzilla. Okay, so we're doing Last Jedi, huh?
Yeah.
Rian Johnson.
Unless you really want some Godzilla.
I don't care.
Okay. So here's the thing. I will send you, because we've talked about this when we were kind of brainstorming the show. I will send you a episode 7 recap. I think I found one that's literally like 4 minutes long.
Sweet.
Because that's about all you need. And then watch
Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
Okay.
I don't know. It stayed in my brain that, like, man, I kind of want to talk about this movie with Santino more so than Godzilla -1. I almost want to keep, I mean, I know I was like, oh, you got to watch this soon, but I almost want to keep that closer to when the sequel comes out, because then we can talk about both.
Okay.
But we'll see. I don't have many options when it comes to movies for you, so we'll see. That's what I got.
Well, that's it, guys.
We will let you know when you can donate your well-earned funds to whatever fundraising campaign we may or may not have. For now, if you know anyone with ill-gotten gains, let us know personally. We'd like to talk to them. Yeah. Well, this was The Only Problem. My name's Andy Matsky. That's Santino Vitale. For truth, justice, and liberty, this was The Only Problem. Was there anything else you wanted to say? I kind of just ended the episode.
Nope.
Okay.